with the Red Sox, I know they're almost kind of like in the Seattle's phase of kind of like rebuilding a little bit. So I know it's going to be a good opportunity for me. I've always wanted to go to Boston. I've always liked Boston. I've never been, and it's probably one of my favorite accents that I got to kind of work on. But I do like the Boston accent, so.
What is good, everybody? Nathan Lombardo here with Lambeau Media, and across the screen from me is Christian Bergman, MLB alum. He played for the Mariners and the Colorado Rockies. We're back with the Walk It Off podcast, back with episodes every single Wednesday. Make sure you guys go follow us on all of our social platforms, on TikTok at Walk It Off Podcast, Instagram at Walk It Off _podcast, Twitter at Walk It Off _pod, and then go follow me and Christian as well. Christian's Instagram is at cbergman36, and then I'm at Lambeau _media. So make sure you guys go check us out on all of the social platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube Walk It Off podcast. Do all of that type of stuff. And let's just transition into talking some baseball. We have a lot to talk about. We haven't had a podcast in a while, Christian. Let's just start off by talking about the moves the Padres have been making. My, oh my. It's sure hurting me as a Rockies fan, not seeing the Rockies make any moves. I'm going to try to stay composed and keep my fury inside until later, until we start talking about that. But let's start it off by talking about the Padres and the moves they're making. They've traded for Joe Musgrove, Blake Snell, Yu Darvish. Their rotation is going to be stacked here in this 2021 season. And they're in the talks of possibly signing Trevor Bauer. I don't know how that's looking up to this point. With all of the moves they've already made. But Christian, what are your thoughts on the moves they've made this offseason? They were already a stacked team last year in the contention, going deep into the playoffs, and they made even more moves. What are your thoughts on the moves they've made this 2021 offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. It reminds me of what they did, we were talking about a few years ago. Didn't work a few years ago, but with the young talent I think they have now on the offensive side,
right?
I think that pairs well with the pitching that they went out and got. And San Diego is a good place to pitch. It's not what it used to be, but it's still a good place to pitch. And I think guys like Snell and Darvish and Musgrove, guys like that, I think they'll thrive there. So definitely an exciting team to watch, and I think, we'll touch on a little later, but the Rockies maybe are looking at that and seeing the talent that the Dodgers have, thinking, oh, this isn't our year yet. So we're going to...
When is it our year? When is it our year?
Yeah, I don't know.
So who do you think is going to be that number one guy in that rotation? Because they have Joe Musgrove. They have, Yu Darvish. Blake Snell, I think that's probably going to be their number one guy. And then if they sign Trevor Bauer coming off of a Cy Young, who's going to be that prioritized guy in that rotation?
I mean, you could, like I just said, each one of those guys. I mean, Blake Snell is a number one with Tampa Bay. Darvish.
These would all be number one guys.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. They'd be number ones on a lot of teams, right, and have been number ones on a lot of teams. So. Darvish with the Cubs, maybe not necessarily the last few years, but more than capable of doing it. And I've talked to hitters in the past, and they have said that Yu Darvish is one of the nastiest guys, just in terms of stuff. He throws about 17 pitches, and they're all like plus pitches. So, yeah, I think any one of them could be number ones, and I think that's what they're looking for, because guys go through peaks and valleys sometimes, and
right,
to always have hopefully one guy, two, maybe three, firing on all cylinders, man. They can get hot and they can go a long way. So
right. And I mentioned Trevor Bauer. Have you seen his tweets?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Trevor Bauer.
I love Trevor Bauer just because of what he's doing on social media. He's just teasing every single city. I think he's doing it just to build his platform with momentum. Have you seen what he does with momentum and his YouTube channel and all that type of stuff?
Yeah.
I think he's just doing it to build his social platform and his brand. And man, is he smart about it? Do you have any, thoughts and ideas about where he's possibly going to sign? Personally, I think, the Mets are definitely up there as the top 3 team as a possible, signing spot for Trevor Bauer. Just especially, in particular, given the fact that they just came off of a Francisco Lindor get this offseason. So that's a big one. Trevor Bauer obviously wants to go to a team with talent. He's been in the league. I don't know how long he's been in the league, but he's been in the league for a fairly long time. He probably wants to go to a team with a lot of talent as he's possibly approaching the end of his career. Obviously, he has a ton of talent already. He's probably not going to retire for a few more years. So he definitely wants to go to a talented team. And you add, like you mentioned earlier, you add Joe Musgrove, Blake Snell, Yu Darvish, possibly Trevor Bauer, on top of a stacked offense with Eric Hosmer, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis. That is a dangerous team. But I want to transition into talking about my Colorado Rockies. I don't know what to think anymore, especially, start of the offseason, it looks like, our front office possibly wants to make moves. We non-tender David Dahl. We non-tender Tony Walters, Chichi Gonzalez. One of the main headline reasons that, the media and the front office was emphasizing on was, clearing up space for money. What are we doing with that money? Because it's not being used to sign these big players.
Right.
Why aren't we deep into the talks about possibly signing Trevor Bauer? I think we have the money. Obviously, not every pitcher wants to come pitch in Colorado, but I think, we should be high up in the contentions in regards to signing Trevor Bauer. What are your thoughts? I asked you the thoughts on the Padres making moves this offseason. What are your thoughts on the Rockies and, their quote-unquote hiding behind the curtains this offseason and, not making many moves with what seems as if they have money?
Yeah, I think as it relates to pitching, I don't know if this is the case. I've never been in a front office. But I would imagine that, like you said, number one, pitchers are leery about going there, with good reason maybe.
Right.
I think it's, all that stuff is a bit exaggerated. But I think what ends up happening is, in order to go there, the free agents that have some leverage and have their choice of where to go, they up their price.
Right.
In order to go pitch in Colorado. They tell them, look, man, if you want me to go and potentially hang the rest of my career, whatever years I have left after this contract, and, who knows how it's going to go, they're going to want more money in order to do that. And the Rockies, even though they cleared payroll space and maybe have some money to spend, it might not be that kind of money. And again, I don't know what the exact figures are, but I would imagine that they're used to having to pay a premium to get a certain guy in Colorado. And I think the last time they did that was Mike Hampton, and it was a disastrous contract that they presumably at the time maybe overpaid for, and it didn't go well, and it didn't look good, right. From a fan perspective. So I think that's the challenge with it. They're not a big market team for sure.
Right.
So they're probably leery about overspending on pitchers, which they're, required to do, because that's probably usually what it takes to get, a desirable free agent to go there. So I don't know. It's a tough deal.
Right.
And I don't have the answer, unfortunately, for you.
I mean, maybe, the front office of the Colorado Rockies is just seeing something that the fans aren't seeing. Maybe they're seeing something that Nolan Arenado isn't seeing, because Nolan Arenado wants the Rockies to make moves. I had the capability of speaking to Nolan's mom, Millie Arenado. She said she wants the Rockies to make moves. That was at the beginning of the offseason when, trade talks with Nolan were really heating up. She said she wanted the Rockies to make moves. What did we do? Didn't make any moves. I personally think, after this season, luckily Nolan's going to be with us for another season, most likely. after this season. I don't really see Nolan wanting to stay with us if he does, just because of us not making any moves this offseason. So it'll be definitely interesting. And I don't think things are just going to happen by themselves. You see, the Padres are already, up there in contentions as far as World Series with Hosmer, Machado, and Tatis. They knew that they needed those 1, 2, 3 pieces, and Snell, Musgrove, and Yu Darvish. They made those moves. They're going to risk it. I think, as a team in the MLB, especially, coming from the Rockies perspective and being a Rockies fan here in Colorado, I think, we need to risk it a little bit, to possibly be in the contentions for a World Series. I think the last time we were contending for a spot in the playoffs, or, we're in the talks for possibly going deep into the playoffs, was back in 2017 when we beat the Cubs in the wild card game. I think that was the last time when Tony Walters hit that go-ahead single.
That was 2 years ago.
Okay, so it was
2018, I guess.
2018, yeah. So I think we just need to make some moves.
2018,
maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, and the same thing about pitchers wanting more to go there. Mm-hmm. The opposite applies to hitters. Right. So hitters will take a discount to go there.
Very true. Very true.
So, and this is based on just what I've seen over the years. I think maybe their strategy is to stack the lineup as much as they can with, guys who are maybe kind of coming off down years, who have a lot of power potential. The guys that come to mind are like Mark Reynolds, I played with there, who are willing to take a discount to go there and revitalize their career and come back off a bad year. And on the pitching side, I think they try to develop their pitching, because when you think about it, outside of relievers, when was the last time they signed a starter to anything more than a 1-year deal?
Right. Yeah. Good point.
The last one I can think of is Kyle Kendrick. That was a 1-year deal.
Right. Yeah.
And I think I don't remember the number, but I think they paid him quite a bit.
But I think
on a 1-year deal to get him to go there.
Yeah, I think we need to maybe refocus on things then, because I don't think our offense is the problem. Because we came off of a bad year last year, we have Trevor Story, Nolan Arenado, Chuck Nasty, who had an incredible start this past season. He had a .500 batting average through 12, 15 games.
Yeah.
An absolute insane start. Had a above 300 batting average finishing off the season, and then you have other key guys that can produce in clutch situations as well. Maybe they're not hitting home run after home run and scoring those RBIs all the time, but they're getting those base hits when needed. So I think that's the big thing. Maybe the Rockies need to think about possibly refocusing their energy towards the pitching side of things, and rather than the offensive side of things. But like I mentioned, the Padres are making big moves. We talked about that a little bit earlier. We talked about the Rockies making no moves. We just wrapped up that conversation. But now let's transition into this amazing conversation with Zac Grotz. He recently, in the past 2 weeks, signed with the Boston Red Sox on a minor league contract. So we'll get into that. We'll get into talking to him about that, as well as, playing indie ball, and then, playing D2 ball, JUCO, NAI, D1, and now he's obviously in the MLB as well. So he's obviously experienced a lot of leagues, and we'll talk to him a little bit about that and transitioning from team to team. So let's get into that guest appearance now. And now we are joined by a very, very special guest. We're back and here with an amazing guest, Zac Grotz. Zac, huge congratulations on just a few hours ago, just signing with the Boston Red Sox as a minor league contract. When did that officially happen? And when was it announced as official?
It was about, I think, almost 2 weeks ago now. I signed with them, probably a week and a half, but they just kind of posted it today. So today was official, I guess, out on the internet and stuff. So,
okay. And what did today, in the past few weeks leading up to the official signing, when it was first official, look like? Was it a lot of Zoom meetings? What did that all look like? Because obviously it's a little bit different right now with COVID restrictions and all that type of stuff. So what did the weeks leading up to the first day you signed with the Boston Red Sox look like?
Honestly, I didn't have any Zoom calls or anything with anybody. we narrowed it down. We had 3 teams offer, and just kind of me and my agent talked about it, and decided to go with Boston. So that was pretty much it. Not a whole lot of conversation about it or talks about it. After I signed, been on the phone with a couple of the pitching coordinators and a couple of guys, like just to kind of introduce themselves and meet them. But I know so far they're still trying to figure out exactly how and when they get everyone out there. So
Okay.
That wasn't your first time through like minor league free agency, right? You've been through kind of the process before.
this was the first time I had options.
Oh, okay.
The one time when Seattle signed me, that was probably the first time. But they were the only ones that had reached out. There was other teams, so this was the first time. Yeah, it was a little different.
Yeah, that's let's see, forget now, 2 or 3 times that I went through. It's the same thing. There was like one option, and it's like, well, I guess this is
just
as good as
take
it's
it.
gonna get. So
This time kind of felt like I was in college again, because I was kind of recruited every
that's
year
awesome.
when I was in college to go to. So it felt like that again.
Right.
What do you think was the difference? Do you know? You might not even know, between like, why do you think there were more teams this year as opposed to before?
I mean, it's probably because I had some big league time and a little bit of okay outings up at the big league level. So obviously that's going to open up some doors rather than when Seattle fined me. It was basically like their metrics and their analytics department, because in 18 I was I was in indie ball with York Revolution, and then the Mets had signed me, and I was in low A as like a starter. So I was like 25 years old, low A starter, and didn't have good numbers that year, but their analytics team liked, I guess, what I was doing. So they kind of just picked me up out of there.
And Zach, you mentioned you had options, and this was the first time you had options, going through the minor league free agency process. Why the Red Sox?
Honestly, between the other 2 teams, they have more caliber guys in the bullpen.
Right. Okay.
With the Red Sox, I know they're almost kind of like in the Seattle's phase of kind of like rebuilding a little bit. So I know it's going to be a good opportunity for me. I've always wanted to go to Boston. I've always liked Boston. I've never been, and it's probably one of my favorite accents that I got to kind of work on. But I do like the Boston accent. So
that's awesome.
I got to pitch once in that ballpark with Seattle. Man, there's nothing. Maybe Wrigley, but I would say if I had to put the ballpark up there, it was the most fun to pitch in, and I'm sure it's even more so on the home side. Definitely Fenway Park, man.
Yeah, that's what I hear, and I've never been to it, so I look forward to that for sure.
Yeah, that's sweet. And Christian, you can attest to this after this question and kind of add on to it. But Zach, I want to start it off with you. What did the free agency process look like for you? Because it's different for everybody. Was it stressful at times for you at all during this off season?
Honestly, right when I was DFA'd and pretty much released by the Mariners, and it was kind of that little dead area, because I was sent home even when they still had the alternate site. So I went home like September 1st, and I didn't really know what was going on. I was kind of, nervous about it and stressed out about it, because,
Right.
When I talked to my agent, he just said, with everything going on this year, he's like, free agency, with everyone is going to be a long, drawn out road. And I was just, it feels better knowing, you have something in your back pocket. And so at first he was thinking, it was going to be a while. And when I first started to, get text message from some teams saying that they're interested, it actually put me at ease a little bit.
Okay. What would you say surprised you the most about the free agency process? Was there something that maybe happened during the free agency process, throughout the free agency process, that you weren't expecting, or was there anything that surprised you in that regards?
Honestly, no, because I had never really done anything like this before, so I don't typically know what they're normally like.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't a whole lot of talking or getting to talk to a lot of their personnel. For me, it was mainly just kind of looking at the setups of each teams, and just what do I think is going to be the best fit for me. So I wouldn't say anything was too out of the ordinary or crazy, but it was also pretty calm and laid back as well.
Okay. And I want to get into the spring training talks as well, because I've talked to a few minor leaguers, and some of them are saying they don't yet have any idea when they're supposed to report. Big leaguers know, they're supposed to report on time as of now. But what does that look like? What have you heard in those regards? And what's that looking like as far as when you're supposed to report to spring training?
Well, I know I have a big league invite, so that report date is the 17th. I'm not too sure if they're going to want us there earlier or whatnot. I actually just asked them to kind of start planning out when I should head out there and whatnot, and if I'm going to have to be there earlier than that 17th date. And they said they're still figuring that all out and don't really have that answer yet. So that's all I've been told.
Okay. And what would you say was the biggest difference during spring training last season because of all of the COVID protocols, and then when you initially found out about spring training being canceled and postponed into a later date, when you guys would later be noticed? What was the biggest toughness throughout that whole COVID process, and not knowing anything until the MLB let you guys know?
You're talking about last spring training?
Yeah.
So it was actually a weird time because I had just had a start against the A's, and I actually had a little grade 1 strain in that game. And then, so I was just starting to slowly rehab my groin. And so I wasn't even practicing yet. And I lived 45 minutes away. I lived over here in Scottsdale, and the complex was up in Peoria.
Okay.
So I know it was one day I drove all the way home, and when this stuff was going on, and they called us all the way back out there and kind of gave us that news. And when we were all sitting there, we're like, man, they never call us back. What's going on? And
yeah.
Throughout that whole week of it happened multiple times where I'd get all the way back home. They said that there's a new development. We'd come all the way back, and things had changed drastically where, it went from, we're going to be here together. We're still going to be working out in small groups, blah, 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 stuff like that. And then it escalated quickly where it's it's all shut down. No one's coming in, get your stuff, kind of get out. And it's dude, this thing happened quick. And with all the talk around it, it almost sounded like a little apocalyptic, and people were starting to go to the grocery store and all that stuff. So it's man, this thing's happening quick.
That's crazy. So you were a 28th round pick by the Astros. Talk a little bit about your journey coming up. Did you, what were you thinking when you were drafted? What was kind of your mindset going in? Because we have kind of similar career paths, it seems like, so far. And that was one thing that I always think is interesting, is hearing guys' takes on whether they were a first round pick or a late pick or whatever. Fact is, you really defied the odds when you got to the big leagues.
Exactly.
Talk a little bit about that.
I remember when I was at Embry-Riddle, at every stage of my college career, my goal was to get drafted, and I always thought I had a chance, besides my freshman year when I knew I couldn't get drafted. But my goal was always to get drafted. And that's kind of why I bounced around from school to school. When, I was at my first school, and I knew it wasn't the spot for me to get drafted. And, I don't know how much I'm going to play. So I left, which a lot of people didn't want to do. I knew guys that were there that were good, some probably better than me, that were comfortable and made a lot of friends and didn't want to leave. And I was well, I'm not here for honestly, I'm not here to go to this school particularly, and I'm not here to make friends. I want to get drafted. I want to play. So right. I went to junior college. And when I got recruited to go to Tennessee, I was perfect, big school, kind of let's go do this. And, it didn't work out for me. And I kind of got lost and didn't know what I was doing. And it was the same thing. I could have stayed and did school and hung out with the guys I had met, but I was I want to play. They pretty much said, hey, you're not going to play next year, but you can come back. I'm nah, that's not for me. Right. I don't want to stay here. And so I left again. And when I had a really good year at Embry-Riddle, and when I got drafted, the whole time I'm just thinking, that's all I want. And it started to look like I may not. So I kind of just played that year all right, this is my last year. I may not get drafted, but I'm going to have a good time, and I'm going to go out, on a high note. And I actually found out I got drafted on Twitter. I was like I was kind of scrolling because I was at like my apartment out in Florida with like no family out there. I had a buddy of mine there, and like my lease is about to be up, so like it's empty. I don't have TV, I don't have anything, and I'm like just refreshing the Twitter tracker, and that's how I found out. I was like, oh shit, I just got drafted. And I told my buddy, and that's because I found out on Twitter, and so that was kind of funny, but super exciting. It kind of it reminded me of kind of like all the places I've been to finally get to that point. So it kind of hit me, and it was nice to remember kind of my process of and my journey of how it took just to get to that point.
It's funny that you
such a crazy typical late round pick story. Yeah, I found out on Twitter.
And they had the wrong, like my scout, I guess, gave them the wrong number because I had my college coach. He's calling me. He's like, dude, what are you doing? I was like, what's up? He's like, answer your phone. They're trying to call you. And I was like, hey, I've had my phone in my hand all day. I haven't missed anything.
Right.
And so my then scout gets a hold of me, and he's like, hey man, sorry, all nonchalant show. He's like, man, I'm sorry, I gave them the wrong number, but they're trying to get a hold of you. They're trying to draft you. And I was like, this would happen.
That's crazy.
They don't even put the right number in.
That is awesome. But you mentioned throughout that answer that you experienced the D2 route, the JUCO route, the NAIA route. A lot of high school kids are opposed to going that route, and they're all quote unquote D1 or nothing, and they all want to go under the spotlight, SEC, ACC schools, which is understandable because they all want to be under the spotlight. They all want to make the money, especially with college athletes now having the capability to get paid starting in, I believe, 2021 this year. So what would you say to those younger kids about going the JUCO route, going to a lower level? Because some kids, aren't necessarily prepared for that D1 level at the highest of the highs. Some kids need those 2 years at a JUCO to get more developed and, get ready for draft day and, the level of the D1.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, it comes down is you're not going to get drafted unless you play. So you got to go somewhere you're going to play. And I wouldn't have been ready to go as a freshman. I wasn't ready to be at that big SEC school when I was a junior. It ended up helping me realize a lot of things of like kind of motivated me of how bad I was there. Like I was so bad and I was so good the year before that it just pushed me more. Like how did you become so bad at like this big school that you were supposed to be able to go to? But
kind of put things in perspective.
Yeah, no, it motivated me a lot moving forward, but that's what I kind of tell people that I talk to, if like whether it's my JUCO or other places or kids in high school. Like for me, JUCO was awesome. It was probably I should have went there out of high school instead of the D2 school, but I was caught up in what you're saying. I wanted to go somewhere cooler, better,
right.
And for me, it was more of that like big fish, small pond, or little fish, big pond. And for me, it helped being when I was at Embry-Riddle, smaller school, but kind of a bigger name.
Right.
And that's just what worked for me. You it's not for everybody. Some guys can do it where they go right to those big SEC, ACC schools and dominate, and that's awesome. But that's a lottery ticket. That's not for everyone. It's not going to happen like that. You got to, actually play and get time to learn and develop. Like just throwing pens and not playing on that team isn't going to get you that experience.
Yeah,
I think you're absolutely right, because I had the chance to go to UCI, which is obviously a D1 school, and I got a little bit of playing time my freshman year, but I was not very good. Kind of like what you were saying.
Yeah.
I was recruited as a junior. I committed as a junior, which is great, but it was a big jump for sure. I think that and the jump from I always thought AA to AAA was the biggest difference, but I realized after my freshman year, like, dude, if you want to have a chance at playing more next year, you need to figure something out. And I really figured it out that year in summer ball in Alaska. But I was fortunate to have an opportunity to play. And if they're telling you, look, dude, you're not going to play, then yeah, you got to go someplace where you're going to play and get seen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think you're absolutely right. It's different for
Yeah,
everyone.
that was exactly it. Like both times I left, left the schools, like freshman year, JUCO I had to leave, and then Tennessee. But both times I left, that following year I got way more playing time, which means I got way more experience. So I got a lot more reps. Like my freshman and junior year, I didn't play that much, and like you're kind of second guessing yourself. You're like, well, I'm good sometimes. Like it's just like flipping a coin when I get out there. Where the other time I was good every time I went out, and it's just being able to find that comfortability in being consistent. Like my freshman year, junior year, it's like, oh, you go out you get an appearance every once a week or every 2 weeks, and it's like that's tough to play like that.
Right.
And that just goes to show the importance of getting actual playing time and experiencing live at bats as well, and throwing to live hitters, because you can't correlate a bullpen session off to the side, not even in game, to a live at bat in game during a 9 inning game or a 7 inning
Oh
game.
yeah.
You can't correlate those two at all. And I mentioned NCAA athletes now having the capabilities to get paid. I want to get your personal thoughts on that. Obviously it's not correlating directly to you, because but everyone has their own thoughts on everything. What are your personal what are your personal thoughts on NCAA athletes now having the capability to get paid off of their unlikeliness?
I think I wrote a paper on that at one of my schools, and I don't remember which side I really picked, but no, I think that you should be able to. If someone wants to give you money and you're someone like a Tebow or any of those big name, like if they want to give you money, sure. I think you should be able to do it, because you can write a book in college, you can sell it, you can make music in college, and you can sell it, and you're using the facility at that college. So I don't think there's going to be a perfect way that they make it completely fair across the board. Like someone's going to be upset about it, but I think that they're moving in the right direction.
I personally think like commits, if you're born in a state like Arizona, you're going to be a lot more likely to maybe commit to an ASU or U of A, just because your likeliness in the state of Arizona has already been built throughout your youth and high school career. Whereas if you go to a different state, it's possibly a fresh start, getting your name out there. And if you're already going to a college where you grew up at, your name's already going to be out there. And I want to talk to you a little bit about your goals headed into the 2021 season, as we're transitioning into talking about your professional career as well. What are some of your main goals? Obviously, recently in the past 2 weeks, like you mentioned, signing with the Boston Red Sox on a minor league contract. What are some of your biggest goals heading into the hopefully normal 2021 season?
Honestly, it's to kind of get back to how I felt and how I was, and mentally how I approached the game in 2019. I had a good build up in spring training, and followed by Double A. I was throwing really well, so that made my transition up into the big leagues. I had momentum and I had confidence and I had everything rolling.
Right.
And this year, it was kind of funky. Took a break, was throwing during quarantine, felt really good. Didn't face batters. Went up into spring training late, and I think I faced hitters in like 2 or 3 outings up there, and wanted to make the team, did make the team, but wasn't technically ready to face batters. And I didn't have that build up, that momentum, that confidence of, throwing to hitters and playing games for about, a month or so. We just kind of jumped right in it. And I was like, oh man, this is cool. This is the first time I broke with a team. I'm on the team. We're going into Houston. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I got my teeth kicked in. I'm like, oh shit, this happened quick.
Yeah.
So I think just being able to adjust and kind of go back to my old routine of kind of my mental preparation, and just kind of building momentum and confidence going into the season, rather than kind of winging it, going, all right, this should be all right. I've done this before.
Right.
Obviously, like, stats aside, did you feel like you were searching last year for, like, obviously you get your teeth kicked in, right? First thing, it's tough in a regular season to turn that around.
Oh yeah.
You know, but in a shortened season, like, you know, and again, numbers aside, like, did you ever feel like, okay, I feel like I'm almost there? You just didn't. There just wasn't quite enough time.
Good point.
Yeah, I felt like it just went from one thing to another because what I felt like I did during quarantine is I warped myself. I was indoors throwing off Rapsodo, and I was throwing harder. I was throwing pitches nasty. I was throwing everything better. My shapes were better. You know, everything was better, but I didn't throw to a hitter. I didn't work counts. I didn't work sequences. And I didn't really realize that, but you know, I'm throwing in an indoor either with a catcher or not, and it's just this big old backdrop screen. And I realized, like, I noticed it when I got up into spring training and I'm throwing, I'm like, usually I see catcher, batter, umpire, whatever, but I'm not picking up the background behind it. And I was seeing, I'm like, I can't focus. I see everything. So it felt like just my visuals were off, and I was throwing good pitches that were 0-2 pitches, and they're not swinging at it. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm 2-0. I didn't really work on this. I didn't work on getting back into counts. I wasn't really sequencing. I was just working on shapes, and it had warped to me. So that was like my first search in season, going, well, I'm throwing good pitches. You guys you're giving me the data and the analytics back, and you're telling me everything's fine. I just got to throw it for a strike and be in the zone early in the count. And that's easier said than done. But then from that, it trickled down to, I'm trying to remember. We started searching in all different ways of, you know, maybe I got to pick up a certain target here, or throw my shapes here. And it became, like he's saying, I was just kind of moving from one thing to another, trying to fix an issue that maybe wasn't really there. And I was just kind of, and it kind of just spiraled.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of people talk about, I heard someone talking about today about shortening spring training, because they say it like drags on, and like, you know, as well as I do, that, yeah, it does drag on, but
that's not fun.
No, at the same time, you know, what you're saying, like, so you're up in the big leagues, you have a bad outing, you're like, okay, how can I fix that? You had what, 7, maybe 8 outings last year?
Mm-hmm.
And those are the times where, like, you get out, you know, obviously not in front of a crowd, but in this case, but, you know, you get in a game environment, and sometimes, like, you need that in order to get your stuff dialed in, and stuff like where your target is. And the fact that you even realize that you're seeing the whole, you know, backstop and everything, I mean, that's not the first place I would necessarily look. You know, you started looking somewhere else, but the fact that you realize, yeah, dude, I'm seeing way too much. No wonder I'm
way too much
locating or whatever. You know, so that's why, like, as much as spring training sucks and we hate it, and I think it is important to, like, get those game reps in there, because, you know, you really get your stuff dialed in. That's my whole argument against, you know, I see the value in the pitch data and stuff, and the, you know, getting your stuff right, but man, you need game environments. You need
absolutely
to tune that stuff with the hitter in there, with the umpire in there, with the catcher there, because it's just not the same.
Right. And I could throw off speed and it be, you know, in the zone, through the zone, ball, and that's nasty, that's good pitch, you got good numbers on it. I'm like,
well,
and then you go and throw that pitch and they take it. And then you throw it again and they take it again.
Right.
And now I'm 2-0. I'm like, well, maybe I should have worked on that one that's in the zone.
Yeah.
That kind of seeing if people are actually swinging at it.
Yeah, I think you'd agree that it's better to throw an effective pitch that maybe is not effective in terms of getting a hitter out or swing and miss over one that's good by the numbers, you know?
Right. And that kind
of, I think that's where a lot of people are going these days. Like, and that kind of happens in my facility sometimes, where I think the last time I threw off the mound, I was like, yeah, I don't want it up there. Like, I don't care what it's spinning at. Like, I'll look at it after and be like, okay, that's good. But let me be, you know, 9 out of 10 times fastball, like, as a strike in the zone, not like some early take or yanked or this or that. Like, I don't care what it looks like numbers wise. Let me just get that feel.
Right.
That's crazy, because it kind of correlates exactly what we were talking about earlier with the college level. You can't compare game experience to bullpens, and that's exactly what, you know, both Christian and Zach, both of you guys are emphasizing on, and you can't compare a backstop to a catcher, the batter's box, a batter, and then an umpire behind the catcher as well. And that's kind of, correlating back to what we were saying. And Zach, I want to wrap it up with this. We ask all of our guests this. What would you say is possibly one thing a lot of people may not know about you?
I mean, I know a lot of people that I play. You guys know just because you were able to research it, but like a lot of guys that I play with now, since I've been on, going on my 5th team, and I played in indie ball, and then I've been on 3 different indie ball teams. So I feel like a lot of guys don't know that. It kind of, once one person finds out, then it kind of circulates. But
that's awesome.
I went to 4 colleges, and then I played on 5 different teams and 3 different indie ball teams. So it's been like 12 teams in the last 9 years.
Man.
Before we wrap this up, I want to talk a little bit about that. How are those transitions when transitioning from team to team so many times, throughout the past years?
I think it would have been a bigger deal, but because I did it every year in college, it like got me prepared for pro ball. Right? So I was just like, this is the norm. I go to a new team, I make new friends, but it's like, I'm trying to think, like, every time I've gone into a new place, I'm like, oh, they don't know me. I gotta ball out and show people like what I have. It's like no one has seen you before.
Okay.
It kind of helped me where, like, when I went into Seattle this year, I was like, oh, they already know who I am. I got a bunch of friends. Like, I was kind of calm and relaxed, and I'm like, that was the first time I've ever been in that situation. Yeah. And I was like, I kind of like being like the new dark horse that nobody knows. Right. And I might try to pop off a little bit and excite some people, like, oh, they don't know what this guy's got. This is different.
That's awesome.
He's funky.
That was awesome. Well, Zach, we really appreciate you hopping on. Both Christian and I really appreciate it. Congrats on the recent signing to the Boston Red Sox. It's really huge. Best of luck in this, hopefully normal, like I mentioned earlier, 2021 season. Best of luck in the future. And, once again, we appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
That wraps up everything for this welcome back episode for the Walk It Off podcast. We're glad to be back. Christian and I are more excited than ever. Make sure you guys stay tuned. Once again, every single Wednesday, follow all of our socials. A little bit earlier, we talked about the Padres making moves, the Rockies, and why they're not making moves. And we had an amazing conversation with Zac Grotz recently signing with the Boston Red Sox. So make sure you guys go check out that if you accidentally skipped over all of that stuff. Follow us on all of our socials at Walk It Off Podcast. Christian on Instagram at cbergman36, me on Instagram as well at Lambo_media. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.